Yeah, well, I'll talk a little bit about it. Um, some companies, the salespeople get directly involved in the estimating process, actually do the takeoffs of the drawings and so forth. In our company, we don't do things quite that way. We kind of work with an estimating group. So I guess in terms of the way we work at my company, we go out and help develop the work with the architects, the engineers, contractors, and so forth, or if there are jobs to bid, we get the plans, bring them in from that standpoint, and they go to our estimating department. And typically, they'll take off the building, panelize the job. It's very rare for us to actually get panelized drawings from a firm anymore. Most of the time, they give us the ability to panelize the job as repetitively and make as large pieces as physically possible that we can handle, basically, from that standpoint. We actually then work with the architect, if it's not already specified, to come up with the mix and finish for the precast itself, the colors, whether it's a single mix and color, multiple mixes, if it's going to have maybe thin brick cast into the face. We'll get all that information from the architect or from the specification, or help develop that specification, get that information to the cost estimating folks, and they basically take off the job, have it reviewed by our production department for a number of forms, repetition, that type of thing, our engineering department for making connections. And again, I'm oversimplifying it, but that's basically the process that we go through in each job. We look at each particular project, gather the information, and basically do the takeoff if the job's not already panelized, put the cost to it, and then the job will either be priced to a particular contractor or go out to bid.
So the question that I always get is, how much does precast concrete cost, or how much does a wall panel cost? And there's never an answer for that, because it's going to depend so much on, sorry, I keep forgetting. It's going to depend so much on, what does it look like, how much repetition, how many pieces are there, what is the job site like, how far is the job site from the plant, and how much are our shipping costs going to cost. So there's never a flat answer that you can get precast concrete for X amount of dollars, because every product is made specifically for that project, and the engineering is done specifically for that project, and it just depends on how far it is from the plant and all of those other issues.
As Marty says, there's a lot of things that go into our cost structures. We look at the erection, we talked about earlier the size of crane. What's the access to the job site? Can you get around it? Can you get a crane around the job site? Is it hilly? Can we only sit in one corner of the job site because of the fact that the terrain is so rough and so uneven that we can't get the crane all the way around it? That's one thing that we have to consider. The connections, the forming, how repetitive is the job itself? The mix and finish, is it one mix? Relatively simple flat panels. Do we have returns on the panels? Do we have radius shapes? Do we have issues like the Kosai job that we showed you? They had the sweeping kind of radius at the top, and we have to have special shipping frames for it. So as Marty pointed out, everything is kind of unique and different. Some jobs will fall within a certain cost parameter, and what we usually do is talk to customers, contractors, architects, in terms of how much per square foot. And we can actually do this in two different ways. Sometimes we can look at a job and do a very quick analysis and come up with a rough square foot number, so many dollars per square foot installed. Or if we actually have the time, we can do a physical takeoff and calculate the number of square footage of the material itself, the number of pieces, that type of thing, and come up with a square footage cost for the customer. But there is going to be a specific range typically, and it kind of depends on a lot of those factors. Yes. Our company, currently we use software called, I believe it's called Bid to Win, is what our company uses. There are others that are out in the market that various people use for taking off the job itself, but I think that's what they use right now. Well, typically, we would go, in our company, there's a training process that you go through, learning the system, the nomenclature for the estimating department, learning the software, that type of thing. But I'm sure any kind of a background that you would have in working with a certain type of takeoff software would probably help you to a great degree. Excuse me.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for having us.
Marty, I have a question after the election. You mentioned that you pull the rebar. What's the difference between rebar and what you had?
Oh, well, no, you pull the strand,
Okay?
and, yeah.
So we call it strand, not rebar.
Right, right, and the difference is that it has that ability to stretch and give, much more so, and it's got the 7 wires, whereas rebar is just one piece. I don't know technologically
Yeah,
I know that they look a lot different.
depending on the end use of the product itself, I'm going to speak strictly for architectural because that's obviously what I do most of it. For instance, we'll consider is the panel just a typical facade panel. If it's just, let's say, cladding a building, hanging onto a structural frame with precast steel, we might just conventionally reinforce that. So we'll just take just regular rebar, if you will. We'll pour about 3 inches of face mix, is very typical in our architectural panels. The color that you would see on the exterior of the wall is not typically all the way through the panel, because that mix typically costs a little bit more. So we'll typically pour about 3 inches or so of face mix material in the bottom of that torn box. We'll put our reinforcing steel mesh if we're having it, and then gray concrete in the back. Okay, just to give you a typical idea. Now, if that panel, that same panel, let's say we're going to use it vertically, oriented vertically on a building, we're going to carry a floor and roof load. In that particular case, we may pre-stress the panel, as Marty was showing there. We'll put a cable through the form box and actually pull that cable through, so it's actually going to carry more load. It's going to handle that compression much better. Or we've actually, in some cases, our company does a lot of post-tension. We'll actually, after the panels are made, we'll actually we'll cast them with cable in it. We'll take that same cable and they have a greased sleeve that they run that cable around with a hose, if you will. And they'll actually pull that and put tension on that after the piece is made, and then cut it and do a post-tensioning operation, which again actually helps in some cases in a very long panel or a very difficult shape. It actually helps to split that panel out and form without any issues with cracking or things of that nature. So that's the most stress that the panel is going to undergo. Typically, when it's first cast, the next morning we have to be very careful as we put that out of form, even though it's fairly cured and it's fairly hard from the standpoint of compression and the brake cylinders, as Marty says, test for concrete strength. But we still have to be fairly careful about how we let that piece out so we handle it properly. When do we take it into the that's a good question. Normally with architectural, you can erect the panels quicker than we can make them. We might, if you come to the plan, or maybe somebody that were up there, just saw that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're running several jobs through our plan at the same time. We might be in the middle of one job, starting one job, finishing a job. So we might be running 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different jobs in the plant at the same time. Normally, we're going to produce pretty much every panel for a particular job, and we actually then store them out in our finishing yard, which is outside the plant, basically. And they're going to sit in that yard and wait until they're actually ready to be erected. And then we basically start shipping those panels to the job site. Because if you start it too soon, they can typically erect the panels much quicker than we can make them.